So today we're talking about normal places. Normal places in the world becoming sacred spaces. You know, people trek, they do pilgrimages all over the world to what are considered sacred sites and sacred places, sacred spaces. Well, how did those places become sacred in the first place? They became sacred because there was an intention for them to be sacred. Yes, something might have happened there. Maybe an apparition appeared to someone and they said, that is a divine guidance from God. And then people come in pilgrimage to also receive that same divine guidance. And the energy of the people coming to that space for that, seeking with an intention to find, create the sacred space. Well, we were just recently in Sedona on a vacation. There's a beautiful Buddhist temple that has been built in Sedona, Arizona. And I read the history of that Buddhist temple. And so this group decided they wanted to build a Buddhist temple in Sedona, Arizona. So they found a piece of property that would allow the zoning, would allow them to build a Buddhist temple, and that they could afford. And then they brought their entire community to that land, to that space, and started praying, offering meditations to set an intention for what that land and that space would be for all who come there. And then they raised the funds and were able to build the temple. And again, invited people from all over the world to come and say prayers, put up prayer flags. And if you're not aware of what the purpose of a prayer flag is, when a prayer flag is created, the prayers are written on the cloth, and then the cloth is prayed over. And then as they hang, the wind takes the prayer, takes it to God and out into the world. And we're doing a prayer flag workshop here soon. So, because I think that is such a sacred practice to do for yourself. These were created by monks, but we can also create our own individual prayers that we want to release out into the world as the wind blows through. But at this Buddhist temple in Sedona, they hung their prayer flags, they said their prayers. And now when you step foot on that land, you feel it. You feel the intention. You feel the sacredness of that land. You know, many of the world's indigenous tribes have fought for their own sacred lands. And they use the word sacred because that's what most people are familiar with, because they're afraid if they don't call it sacred, people won't appreciate what it is. But truly, most of the sites for the indigenous people are sacrosanct. They are their burial grounds. They're places where they go to have that one-on-one connection and to experience all that there is to experience in nature. It's a give and a take with the trees. It's a give and a take with the plants, with all of nature. One of the greatest Aztec cities that now is the center of Mexico City. The space was chosen and created because an eagle flew down and landed on a cactus blossom. And they said, oh, that's a sign from God that this is where we need to build a city. And so they built that city. And now it was an Aztec city, and now it is Mexico City, at the center of Mexico City. So sacredness is all in the intention. It is within us. God, just as God is within us, each and every one of us all the time, Every space we can occupy on this earth is sacred. Every space, every place, because a sacred place is where God comes, or you go to connect with God. Well, we know God is everywhere. God is all around us and within us. So wherever we are can be a sacred space. It just requires the intention to make it a sacred space. This home was a house that used to be down on the beach and then got moved to here. It's one of the oldest structures in Gulfport. Janet and Cindy purchased it, and it needed a lot of work. And they put so much love, so much energy, so much intention into what they created, that no matter where you are in their home or in their garden, wherever your eye falls, you see beauty. And you feel the love. You feel the sacredness of this space because they intended that as people would come, friends would come and join here, they would experience that sacredness and know their love. And don't we all feel that when we are here in this garden? Amen. We feel it, we know it, and we are forever grateful to you, Jamie and Cindy. There you go, over there. For offering your home for our community together. And they truly were successful in creating a successful space. And know that you also can create sacred space in your life, wherever you are, whenever you are. If you go down to the beach to do a meditation, your intention can make that space sacred. We're going to be moving to a new home for our Sunday celebrations next week. And when we move there, it's an ordinary place. It's a rec center throughout the week, but on Sunday, we are coming with our intention, and they won't know what hit them. It will become a sacred space because we will come with the intention that this will now be a sacred space where we come together, where we connect to our divine Creator. And we talk about sacred spaces that people travel to, that people pay tour guides to take them to. We have some beautiful tour guides in this area, Patricia McGiven, and she will take you, you'll see her in January at her expo, and she speaks, and she would take you to Sedona, Arizona, and she will take you over to Europe, and she will take you to France, to Mary Magdalene's cave, where when she hid out, when they were hunting for her, hunting to do away with her, she went and hid out in this cave and was there for some time, some years, and lived in that cave, and it has become a sacred site because the intention of the people going there to pay honor to her have created that space, have created it as such. But what amazing pilgrimages we can make. And then we can also make those pilgrimages from our living room to our backyard. We can create a sacred space within our own living space that is just as sacred as any other place on this earth, because the sacredness is within us. The sacredness is within our intention to honor our Creator, to connect to our Creator. And then we also talk about holding space. So if I say to you, I'm holding space for you, what I am doing is holding sacred that space where you connect to God, where you understand and know and affirm that you are connected to your Creator. Because sometimes life happens. And we aren't necessarily feeling that. You know, we might be going through a thing or two, and we lose sight of that. And we lose sight of that fact that we are always connected. We simply must acknowledge and allow. And when we do, what a wonderful community to know that there are those in our community that will hold for us that space until we find our way back to it. Because sometimes we need a moment. Sometimes we experience a moment. Maybe we're a little depressed, or maybe we're a little anxious, or maybe we're just not feeling the love. And we need those in our community to hold that sacred space. And we have some amazing space holders that have come forward in this community to say, I'll do that. I'll do that. You may not even know them, but know that they are here holding that space for you until you affirm, acknowledge, and feel that connection. Just like when I was teaching the little children on the Native American Story Day, to feel in their heart that warm smile. Feeling in your heart that warm smile is evidence of that connection. It's evidence of the connection you have with the divine that you are bringing into you. And then radiating that warm smile back out to the world. We can give no greater gift than to do that. And then we have sacred space within a relationship. Within our relationship with our community, and within our relationship to the one that we love, that we call our life partner, our spouse. Oh, what a beautiful, wonderful relationship we have when we honor that sacred space. I was fortunate yesterday to officiate a wedding, and it was out on Treasure Island on the beach. Oh, and the beach is a normal place. There were people all up and down the beach, but they had created with palm fronds. They had created a semicircle, and that's where I stood, and the two people getting married stood. And then all their family who had flown in from all over the country. There were about 100 people, and they were sitting in chairs around. But you know what? We created such a sacred space, and we're radiating that love out, that people came up from the beach and were trying to be in that space. Because when you create sacred space, by sending that divine love out from your heart center, people want to be part of it. They want to come and feel that. They can see the energy, just like, have you ever been on a really hot day and you go out to the street and you can see the energy waves coming off the asphalt? That's when you see someone's aura, that's what it looks like. And my wife Paula takes the pictures here every Sunday that we share out. And one Sunday we were doing our pray-in in the morning, and she took some pictures, and you could see those energy waves above the circle we had created that we were doing the prayer. And then during the meditation, you could see the energy waves coming off the faces, because we create that powerful energy. And when we share it out to the world, there's nothing more sacred. There's nothing more sacred than that. Sharing that divine, loving energy. So people came up from the beach, and the wedding, oh, what a beautiful wedding it was. We have another wedding coming up this weekend here in our community. I just love officiating weddings, because it is so amazing to be standing there amidst all that love, And I always ask the attendees to do a vow. You know, usually the two people do a vow, but then I include everybody that's gathered, because who are those people? Those are your family and your friends have come to be there, to be part of it. So I incorporate a vow for them. And I said, okay, I'm going to say a vow for you. And all I'm going to require of you is to listen, be present with that vow. And then at the end of it, I want you to say, we will. So I ask everyone who's there, who has guided this couple to know what love is, to know what a loving relationship is. They've taught them through their actions, through the life, to then stand ready. Their role will change, but to stand ready, stand strong for that couple, to be there to celebrate with them in their times of triumph and success, and also to be there to offer them support when they need support, and to be there for them continuing throughout this relationship. And then I say, will you agree to that? And they all say, we will. And it just blows out that whole aura of the whole place, that we all just became part of this union that is between these two people, but we all accepted responsibility to be part of it and to be there as loving guides for them. So I'm still in that space too from yesterday doing that wedding, because it's beautiful. We created sacred space there. So no matter how normal your place is, no matter how normal the environment you are in, know that it is sacred. All you have to do is acknowledge it, open up, and experience it, and then radiate that out. And people who come, they want to be part of that. That's why when a sacred site is, sometimes it's a culture that says, this site is sacred. East of the river in India is sacred. So now people trek to that and say, I want to be in that sacred space. It becomes sacred because it was proclaimed. It's sacred. Indigenous people all over the world are owning their rights to their sacred spaces, taking back rights to their sacred spaces that were taken and not treated as sacred spaces. And they are taking them back and saying, this is sacrosanct. This is our sacred space where we bury our people. And they are here in spirit. And we hold that land sacred. So what a beautiful honoring when we all come together and say, I honor you, and I honor this sacred space. Even sacred space is universal. God is universal. Different religions claim God. Different religions have different names for the one presence and the one power that is our divine source. But whatever the name, whatever the religion, it is universal. And the most common thread among all the different world's cultures and all the different world religions is love. When we can come and be with each other in love and in community, we can knock down those barriers, create bridges over the differences, and experience life by coexisting with our neighbors, even though their thoughts and their beliefs may not be exactly the same as ours. You know, in the Native American tradition, the Native American spirituality, everyone understands and knows that each person has a unique and personal experience with God. And just as we are all different and we are all unique, our personal relationship with our Creator is unique and different. What you say when you're speaking to God may not be what I say when I'm speaking to God or Goddess. So what you bring and what I bring may be different, but we can coexist together, honoring that you have the ability and the right to have your relationship the way it is, individual, unique, and perfect. And I have the right and the ability to have my unique individual relationship that is also perfect. Because we are all unique and individual creations of God. Creations and children of Goddess. Mother Earth and Father Sky come together. And when we can honor that, and honor that each one of us is worthy. We are all worthy. And each one of us has that still small space within us where we connect to our Creator. That is our most sacred space. Because when we honor our very own sacred space, it makes us a person who can step out and love fiercely. We can step out with courage and bravery and do what we know is ours to do in this world, knowing that my Creator has my back. Put this thought in us as a divine spark of inspiration of what it is ours to do. And when we honor that divine spark of inspiration and step boldly forward and take action towards it, we will always be successful. Because if God is for you, who can be against you? No one. No one. Yes. So as you go about your life this week, I would challenge you to look in your life at where are your sacred spaces. What are your sacred spaces? Are they physical places that you have carved out a niche? Maybe placed an altar of some kind. Maybe you have a meditation mat that is your sacred space. And sacred spaces can change for us throughout our life. One of my most sacred spaces when I was a young girl living in the mountains was the meadow on the other side of the barn. Because there was the house, and there were the gardens, and there was the tobacco fields over there. And then there was the barn, and there were gardens all around the barn on this side. But on the far side was a big meadow. And I would go and lay in that meadow and feel the warm grass on my back, and the backs of my legs, and the back of my head. And I would stare up at the clouds. And I guess, truthfully, that was probably my first meditations, were just laying there as a child watching the clouds go by. And I'd be out there sometimes for a long time, and then it'd start getting cooler and dimmer, and I knew I better get back home. Mama probably wondered where I am. But that was Mama's rule, was as long as we were back up to the house by dark, we could roam around wherever we needed or wanted to roam around, because she had stuff to do, because she had 5 children and a big farm to take care of. She didn't, unless she needed me specifically to help with something, I was free to enjoy. Another sacred space there was the spring where our water was, where we got our water from. And my brother Steve taught me to lay on my belly and look in that spring and take a drink from the spring. And at first, the first time I ever did it, I was like, God, there's snails in there. There's things in there. I can't drink that water. It's dirty. And he taught me that, no, the snails clean the water for us. Took me a minute to get right with that one. But once I did, and that became a sacred space for me, to go and lay down in the spring and look down in the water. And you know, when you first look in water and its ripples and everything, you can't see what's underneath. But then if you're still and you continue to look, the water gets really still and it becomes a window, and you can see all the way down and all the way down to the bottom where the water's bubbling up from the spring. And what a beautiful sacred space. So I'm going to challenge you as you're going through your life, where are your sacred spaces in your physical place, where you live, where maybe you work, and then where are your sacred spaces in your relationship? How are you creating sacred spaces in your relationship? Maybe it's time you carve out, that you commit to your partner. This day's for you. Whatever you need and want, I'm here for you. Maybe it's a 2-hour window. This time is for you. Whatever you need and want from me, here I am, here to share with you. And then also carving out that sacred space that is entirely and only yours. Because we all must have that. We must love ourselves. We must give ourselves that sacred space in order to be a loving partner, in order to be a loving mother or father, in order to be a loving spouse, in order to be a loving community member. We must first love and honor ourselves, because that's the measure that we can love and honor others, is the measure that we take for how much we love and honor ourselves. So that's your challenge. So next week you can come up and say, my sacred space is, yeah, I know what my sacred space is. So I want you to look, what is your sacred space? In your physical environment, in your work environment, out in the world, within, and then within your relationship with your partner, your spouse, or in your relationship with other family members in your life, your relationship with your friends in your community. Where is your sacred space? Because I know we all have them. They're everywhere. If we simply open our eyes and see them, they are there. And sometimes it might be that God gives you a sign of where that is. Maybe the eagle will come down and sit on a cactus blossom, and you'll say, oh, there, okay, that's my sacred space. And maybe here it will be a seahawk that comes down, an osprey that comes down and sits, or a pelican out at the beach, or a dolphin. Because yesterday when I was doing that wedding, just before I walked down and took my place, 2 dolphins came and were playing right there, right in the water, right there. And I said, the dolphins have come to bless this union. And most of the people were from way up north. Oh, wow, is that what they do? I said, yes, they do. For me, dolphins are always a sign of joy and happiness. Joy and happiness are what dolphins are. And see, they come every Sunday. I think they like the sound from the microphone, because every Sunday they're flying around us. They love the energy. Animals do. They love the energy. So as you radiate that energy and find your sacred space, never know what you're going to call in, but it will be divinely ordered, and you will find peace and comfort in whatever it is you call into your sacred space. And I thank you so much for being here with us and joining us. And now I am going to turn it over to the fabulous Tracy.